Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you. All right, are you guys, how's everybody feeling? Feeling informed?
Bill!
Informed?
You're strong. We're all survivors.
Yeah, we're going to make it. So, let's see. I'm going to talk about the sort of the way detoxification works in the body from the beginning, and then we can look at some strategies of how we can focus on bringing that up, ramping it up, and also getting more into the radiation aspect. So the basic phase 1, they call Cytochrome P450, phase 1 detoxification, is basically every cell of the body has these enzymes that they call Cytochrome P450. And these are basically enzymes that deal with toxins inside the cell and also sometimes outside the cell. These enzymes have the ability to maneuver the electrons of some toxins and also mess with sort of the oxygen components of those things. And they can make them more manageable for the body. They can kind of reduce the oxidative stress that these things are causing. Then as they become more manageable, we move into phase 2 detoxification, which involves some really great molecules like glutathione, methyl donors, glucuronic acid, things like that. And we can talk about how to bring those up to higher levels in the body. So beginning with glutathione, there are some supplements, there are molecules that help the body to create glutathione. Basically the cysteine amino acid is responsible for giving the body that juice that it needs to create glutathione. One of the main supplements that people take for that is N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. You'll see that commonly sold as a supplement. But there's also a sort of a natural way of doing it, although you guys might not think of it as totally natural. It involves enemas, and particularly coffee enemas. And so this whole thing about the Gerson Clinic, you guys might be familiar with the Gerson Clinic, very famous for healing stage 4 cancers, end-stage cancers, using coffee enemas and juicing and some other things. But basically the whole idea of the coffee enema is that the coffee stimulates the liver to put out something like 800% more glutathione, which glutathione can then grab radiation and actually pull it out. So that's a big one. And then moving into methyl groups, methyl donors, those are very important molecules. We've got all kinds of supplements in that realm. MSM, you guys might be familiar with, for joints and bones and things like that. That's a methyl sulfonomethane, so that's a methyl group. If you mix that with a vitamin C botanical, you can kind of gently detox the body using, we actually have that here, like this, Kamu. So this is a raw plant, and it has in a quarter teaspoon 220% of your daily value of vitamin C. There's a few others like that. There's amla, acerola, these really high vitamin C botanical plants. Of course, great for the immune system, but also when you mix it with something like MSM, which your body produces this naturally. This is found naturally in plants. This is an extract of it. You can achieve sort of that methyl detoxification or increase that. Over time, when we have eaten more and more cooked foods in our diet, we actually lose methyl groups in our cells. We lose methylation, the ability to methylate toxins out. The other thing involved with the Cytochrome P450 and this whole cooked food notion is that Cytochrome P450 enzymes are found not just in humans, but also in animals and plants. So as we find those in plants, when we're cooking things over 118 degrees, we're actually eliminating those Cytochrome P450 enzymes that are in plants. So that's something that we can ingest in basically almost every plant if we don't cook it to that temperature. And that's not to say that some things won't be more bioavailable, like broccoli, if you lightly steam that, or you have to juice it or something like that because it's so fibrous. But we look for the plants that are a little bit, more easier on the digestion, in the raw form, like cabbage. So cabbage is like kind of a cousin of broccoli. They're both in the same family, in the Brassica cruciferous vegetable family, and they both contain molecules that have to do with this phase 2 detoxification. We're talking about glucuronic acid. Cruciferous vegetables have calcium D-glucarate, which is a glucarate donor, basically. It helps remove toxins like radiation. There's actually, if you look into scientific literature on calcium D-glucarate, you'll find studies that were done on eliminating radiation with that. Another molecule, indole 3-carbinol. Another molecule, DIM, D-I-M. You can actually find supplements that have those three things combined. And then we also have the sulforaphanes, which are anti-carcinogenic, also detoxifying. And those are all found in cruciferous vegetables. In addition to that, you can really help achieve overall wellness with cruciferous vegetables because we live in such a toxic environment. We're dealing with not just radiation, of course, but a whole list of other things. I mean, we've got, pesticides, GMOs, we've got heavy metals. So all these type of things, a lot of them accumulate in the form of bad estrogen. We call bad estrogen, maybe people aren't familiar with it. There's different types of estrogen. Some estrogens you want, some estrogens you really don't want. So there's estradiol, there's estrone, there's estriol, there's progesterone. Those are kind of like the big ones that we're looking at. If you have estradiol in elevated amounts when, say, you're like, 12 years old and you're a woman, you're going to be growing breasts, you're going to be, developing your ovaries and, your reproductive organs and whatnot. But if these things are coming on strong when you're older, when you're going through menopause, say, and you have a major imbalance, you can start growing a body part where there already is one. They call that generally a tumor or a cancer, a breast cancer, an ovarian cancer. And so these toxins are now in the field of functional medicine being related to breast cancer, to ovarian cancer, to prostate cancer, to testicular cancer, as causing hormone imbalances. And there are institutes like at Hippocrates Health Institute where they actually deal with, they address breast cancer as a hormone imbalance. And they have great results doing that. You'll see information coming from Dr. George Yu, Y-U. It's one of the great hormone experts of the world. And they're doing a study at Hippocrates with him on the breast cancer and how to balance the hormones to get to eliminating the breast cancer. So these toxins are connected with general hormonal imbalances, with endocrine system imbalances. These types of foods, like cruciferous vegetables, are going to help pull some of those bad estrogens out. Or you can get the extract form, like I was saying. You can go get calcium D-glucarate, DIM, and indole 3-carbinol all together. And just, if you really need to take it in a concentrated form. And then it's also about bringing balance to the endocrine system, bringing balance to your hormone system, using foods like maca. Health Force is a great company, by the way. They're really crucial about testing all their products for toxicity or for any kind of contaminants. And most of it's raw and living. Let's see, if you're a woman, Tulsi, red raspberry leaf. Those are amazing for keeping your hormones balanced. Teas you can do every day. If you're a man, ginseng. Let's see, where are we at? Okay, so we were talking about phase 2 detoxification, glutathione, the glucuronic acid, and the methyl groups. As far as methyl groups and methyl donors go, the highest plants that have been discovered, or the plants that have been discovered to have the highest amount of methyl groups are like beets. Basically the highest, so do a lot of beet juice. If you do too much at once, you can release too many toxins at once. People have been known to pass out, even have heart attacks, drinking too much beet juice at one time. Yeah, you can, if you're going to do like a juicing regimen like that and you want to do those beet juices, really good to have the colon cleaned out, because if things are trying to, your liver is basically going to be dumping toxins into your intestinal tract. If you don't have a clear pathway for it to get out, it can recirculate in the intestinal tract. So that's why enemas are, again, very important. What's really crucial about the coffee enema is when you do that coffee enema, if you're laying on your side and on your right side and you're holding it for 15 minutes and it's basically running through your liver, your blood's gone through your liver about 4 or 5 times in those 15 minutes. So your blood is dropping off toxins as your liver's getting all that glutathione production ramped up, and then it's dumping back into the enema, and basically, so when you release the enema, you're just basically sending it right out there. And there's a lot of things we can put into enemas. You can put, wheatgrass is a famous one, blue-green algae is another famous one, prebiotics, like noni, really good, put it in there. Prebiotics, something that probiotics feed on. I think we're going to get into probiotics here pretty soon. And yeah, so with blue-green algae, we can move into spirulina and chlorella. There's a lot of scientific literature on spirulina and chlorella specifically to radiation. Apparently they were used in Chernobyl, especially with children. There were studies done there on that. Spirulina apparently has a rapid action of removing radiation, especially for people that have like radiation sickness, like they've definitely been poisoned by radiation. They do really high doses, like 4 grams a day of spirulina, which is a lot. That's like, this whole bottle is, okay, 454 grams. So yeah, it's like, 1/10 of this bottle or something like that. But yeah, about 4 grams a day of spirulina. And then, spirulina is just good for your overall health. So it's the phycocyanin molecule in spirulina that's helping to remove that radiation. Phycocyanin, PHYCOCYANIN. That's also been implicated as a molecule that promotes the growth of stem cells in the body. So if we're looking to create certain types of cells, like immune cells, maybe you'd mix your spirulina that has the phycocyanin with the camu and echinacea, astragalus. Those are 2 herbs that boost your thymus, that Gen was talking about. They have thymus regenerative qualities. We can kind of dial it in that way. If we're like, okay, we want to create cells, let's go with the phycocyanin to get some kind of cell production going. And then let's angle it towards maybe immune cells or endocrine system with maca, and you can mix all that and put it into a smoothie. Have a nice little smoothie like that. As far as the thymus goes, some strategies of protecting the thymus is actually to wear pendants, like crystal pendants, like rose quartz, because a lot of times we're on the computer, we're doing, got EMF exposure, electromagnetic frequency radiation. That's actually bogging down the thymus. The thymus can actually shrink and shrivel up in a lot of cases. So as you're doing your astragalus and your echinacea in the form of either tinctures or in tea, you can also protect it with some kind of pendant right there. Alright, so we're moving into zeolite and boron, and those were sprayed on Chernobyl. Zeolite's a natural clay, boron's a natural element. You can get both of those in supplemental forms. Health Force has a really great zeolite. We don't have it here though, but that's the one that I'm the most familiar with. And on top of that, with zeolite, you also get the chelation of heavy metals and other toxins as well. So that's a really nice one. Some people prefer the liquid zeolite. There's the zeolite NCD, Natural Cellular Defense. You can try that. I think the powders, you get more bang for your buck, although it's been said that the powder tends to have more action in the gut.
I'll have some of that in this week.
Donna is our Health Force rep here, and she signed you in today. She's also repping for OGO. That's a spirulina. And she'll have more zeolite this week.
And you can use it for like masks, detox your bath, brushing your teeth. There's tons of uses for zeolite.
There are many uses for zeolite, just like bentonite clay. You take a bentonite clay bath, take a zeolite clay bath, similar. Native cultures throughout the world have ingested clay for, ages. So clay is kind of a common thing for pulling toxins out of the body. Alright. Baking soda, Epsom salt. That's the military recommended depleted uranium protocol. You could do that bath, you could make a bath with that and actually put the zeolite in there too, or the bentonite. Help draw toxins out. Baking soda you can also take internally. It's kind of a good kidney wash. It helps get radiation out of the kidneys. So that's another strategy there. Of course, when you look at baking soda, you want to look for pure sodium bicarbonate. You don't want any aluminum or anything else in there. Just pure sodium bicarbonate. And generally the big Arm & Hammer, that's what it has. And I use baking soda to brush my teeth. I mix it with essential oils and coconut oil, brush my teeth with that. Do a little whitening with that. And then I use it in my laundry, the laundry soap. And use it to scrub down countertops. So it's a good non-toxic cleaner. And then as we get into that, with cleaning products, we're generally trying to protect ourselves from radiation by staying non-toxic in general. We want to get all the toxins out so that our body has the strongest defense, right? So eliminating toxic cleaning, household cleaning products is very important. Yes. Beauty products, all these types of, when you're like doing your Windex or whatever it is, those are toxins that you're inhaling unless you're wearing a mask. But even then, it's still off-gassing. Plastic is a big one. Drinking out of a glass water bottle rather than a plastic water bottle. If you buy a plastic water bottle to drink out of, chances are that plastic water bottle company blew that plastic bottle, and instead of letting it off-gas for a year, how quickly do you think they filled that up with water?
It's cold. As soon as it was cool.
Right away. They might have even cooled it that way a little bit. Might have been warm. That's plastic. You're drinking plastic tea. That's what we call that. So definitely want to stay off of the plastic tea. Incidentally, I just want to tell the story real quick. There was a study done where they went to, I always mix the name up. I want to say Siberia, but it's not. It's Mongolia. Deep, deep, deep away from any civilization in Mongolia, out in the forests, and they found polar bears that had BPA in them, and in their placental cord even. So what does that mean? That means that it's everywhere. It's in our atmosphere. We have toxins everywhere. So we're really in the age of detoxification.
We are pretty strong.
If we want to survive. That's what we have to do now. We are strong. Thanks, Yumi. No, it's amazing that we've endured so much toxicity in our lives. I mean, I grew up eating McDonald's and drinking tons of alcohol and doing drugs and everything else. So, I'm still here, barely, but I'm here. Yeah, Mike, you remember those days, huh? Mike knows. Alright. Okay, so we talked about indole 3-carbinol and cruciferous vegetables. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. Probiotics, fermented foods, miso, sauerkraut, kombucha. Yumi touched on that. Basically, probiotics are gobbling up toxins and they're helping to detoxify the body. That, like she was saying, not all forms of miso are the real deal. They're not all probiotic forms of miso. You want to look for the unheated, the raw, the organic. There's a good one that they carry down here from Miso Masters. And if you have, an issue with soy, they make a chickpea-based miso also.
I'll be doing miso workshop.
Oh,
yeah, so
Yumi's going to give a miso workshop.
Make your own miso. It's easy. So
that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll look forward to that. Maybe you guys are on the email list. We'll send it out to you.
I send out information if you want to learn how to make miso.
Awesome. What about natto?
Natto you can make too. That's easy.
Yeah, a natto making workshop would be great too. Okay. That's a probiotic.
People hate natto.
I know.
All the white people I feed natto, they hate it.
Except for me. I love it. But have you guys ever had natto? It's like this slimy, sticky, goopy, fermented stuff. Like you have like 6 feet of slime when you take a spoon out.
That's good natto.
Yeah, that's the stuff you want.
It's not rotten, it's fermented.
That slime is a protective coat of probiotic bacteria. That's the best form of probiotics you can possibly get, actually. Natto's the highest in vitamin K2 of anything that we know of, or anything that I've seen. And K2 is a calcium metabolite. So just to process calcium properly, we need K2. It's actually a common deficiency that a lot of people don't know about. K2, other than natto, is really coming from like hard cheeses. And a lot of people don't eat like real, cheese these days anyway. So they're not really getting vitamin K2. So natto is important for that.
I want to suggest, just in case, if you're the first experience of natto, many people, Americans, don't know how to cook. Prepare natto. Okay, you can buy at the
Target even.
Target or
Here too.
Yeah,
And then.
it's cheap. First, you put it in the jar or whatever container. You have to stir.
Mix.
Mix it.
100
Very good.
times. Make it white. 100 times. That's a trick.
Okay, so they stir it 100 times,
Yeah.
their natto. And that's how they
That's
prepare it.
important.
Now there's a lot of junk natto out there in the stores too, right? So you got to be careful with that because soy is all GMO now, so you got to get the organic natto. I actually ordered from a company in California called Megumi natto. Yeah, MEGUMI. They do organic and it's really nice stuff, and they always ship well. So yeah, sauerkraut. I've been a champion of that for a long time. You guys probably know. I've been making sauerkraut for a long time. Amazing stuff, It's pre-digested food basically with probiotic stuff. So you could put your broccoli stems in there, you could put your beets in there, all the vegetables you want, even the ones that are super fibrous like carrots that you might not normally get as much bioavailability. And the sauerkraut kind of breaks it down, makes it pre-digested. So you're just assimilating nutrients like that. On top of that, you're getting all the probiotics that are helping break down toxins. You're putting that sort of acidic probiotic in your gut, what they call the lactic acid bacteria, the LAB strains, which is what we want to be populating our guts. Sauerkraut, very important. Same thing as kimchi. You look for it, they actually just started carrying a new one down here, and then I'm starting over at a cafe in Copico Plaza. It's called Coco Island Cafe. It just took over where Upcountry went in there for a little bit and then they moved. And Coco Island took over and we're going to be making sauerkraut there. We got the crocs in there, everything. Maureen supplies us with the best local organic cabbage. Thank you, Maureen. And Adaptations, they've been doing wonderful things for years, giving us local organic produce. Thank you. Okay, so raw foods. What's the whole thing about raw foods? And you heard Yumi talk a little bit about it. You've got these different schools of thought. Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, a lot of them saying don't eat raw foods, cook all your foods.
Japanese too.
Japanese too.
Cook about it, cook all, yeah.
So all the science I've seen on it points to about 80% of your diet being raw, being ideal. Ideally we'd try to hit 100%. But of course it depends on people's body types, depends on your psychological factors and a few other things. But mainly there's a few things that happen when we cook our foods. We lose enzymes. Once you go over 118 degrees, you lose a lot of the enzymes. Remember the importance of what she was saying about enzymes? Enzymes are the catalyst for chemical reactions that happen between our cells. So we need lots of enzymes. Enzymes help to break down toxins also. Like we were saying before, the Cytochrome P450, phase 1 detoxification, enzymes. So we lose enzymes. What else do we lose when we cook food? We lose oxygen. Oxygen's a nutrient. The most important nutrient, actually, in the human body. So we need that oxygen. What else is lost when we cook food? We're losing methyl groups. We're losing phytonutrients. Even some major nutrients can be lost. So In some cases, I will cook like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts very lightly at a very low heat. I try to cook everything under 180 degrees if I'm going to cook food, because once you hit 180 degrees in your food or even your water being heated to that degree, we reach what's called leukocytosis. That's where your body actually has an immune response to your food. Your immune system rushes to your digestion, and so constantly crying wolf on our immune system when we're eating too many cooked foods, especially if it's cooked over 180. That's why crock pots are really great, because you can do this like slow cooking, really low temperature thing and try to stay under that 180. If you stay at a simmer before a boil, you're under 180. So you can make your tea that way too. When we do tea, always try to stay under 180 usually when I cook foods. Let's see. Immune support. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this with the thymus, with the immune support. Immune support is important for every process that we're going through in the body. If we're going through detoxification of any kind, obviously, you know, if you're sick, you always want to keep your immune system up. Something I could actually work on more. The medicinal mushrooms like reishi, they have what we call essential sugars or long-chain sugars called polysaccharides. So polysaccharides, basically you guys have heard of, you know, the basic sugars. You've heard of, you know, glucose and sucrose and fructose. There's also galactose, mannose, xylose, beta-glucans. These are kind of the long-chain sugars, the polysaccharides that are giving intelligence to the immune system. They're kind of like immune weapons. That's what goji berries are really rich in, is beta-glucans, that red color. The same thing on the reishi mushroom. It has that red color, that beta-glucan. It's giving like a weapon to the immune system. Now the immune system, like maybe it only had like a knife and the virus had like a gun or something, and now it's got like a grenade or something like that. So that's kind of like the action of the polysaccharide. Xylose, that's xylitol, right? We see that xylitol is metabolized outside of insulin, and it's boosting of the immune system. It kills fungus. It's even got anti-cancer properties, like most of these polysaccharides do. Xylose is naturally found in birch bark, and that's been used in Ayurvedic medicine to cure cancer for quite a long time. So now we come full circle with Western medicine, looking at, oh yeah, we got the xylitol, and it's the extract of the birch bark of the xylose, and we know what it can do. So that's kind of the action there. I talked a little bit about Echinacea astragalus already, being thymus regenerators as far as just general immune boosters in general. They also have a number of other functions. Astragalus is generally called an adaptogen. Those are herbs that have a non-specific healing quality. They tend to normalize whatever is not normal in the body. Like noni is an adaptogen. We could probably even think of blue-green algae as an adaptogen, I would think. Other adaptogens, reishi is an adaptogen. Chaga mushroom is an adaptogen. I believe goji berries have been classified as an adaptogen for the beta-glucan properties, and for some of the other things. They are really high in methyl groups too. We've got probiotics. We talked about that already. Probiotics, the way that they interact in the immune system. So if you're using Echinacea astragalus, let's say, it's boosting your thymus activity. Your thymus is producing immune cells that are then going down into your gut to be sort of educated and sort of taken all. I generally like to do a lot of fermented foods myself. There are products that have it. I don't know if this one in particular, Health Force, yeah, they are. So they use a probiotic process to make this vitamin green, which kind of moves us on to our final part of this, which is minerals. So like what Yumi was talking about with, strontium, cesium, and the other radioactive molecules having a different action, some in the muscles, some in the bone. These things are they're taking up residence where minerals are absent. So we need a lot of minerals in our diet. That's kind of like the big finale here, is that minerals are like how I was describing that rose quartz. If you're wearing that pendant and you're sitting at a computer and it's blocking some of that EMF radiation, the minerals are like that in your cells, where they're like, no, we're not going to take any radiation today. No, you know, the minerals are kind of like pushing it away, like we're not going to do that. We're not going to take that in. If you don't have those, the cells are like, oh yeah, we could use some of this, and then they get zapped by radiation. So how do we get minerals in our bodies? Again, what Yumi was saying about spirulina and blue-green algae, one of the highest mineral and trace mineral contents of any known foods. Also, almost a complete food. It's got almost all the essential fatty acids there, which strengthen your cell walls and your mitochondria and your nucleus. We've got the highest protein source of anything on the planet, actually, up to 60% protein by weight in blue-green algae. That's enormous. That's, you know, what steak is, like 20%. So,
It's sold here?
huh?
It is sold here at a natural.
No. So this isn't sold here at Ion Naturals. So this is what Donna is repping for. So if you guys want to pick up from Ogio or Health Force, which are really great companies, I tried to get Ion Naturals to bring these in a while back, but I was really happy when I met Donna and found out that she was a rep for both of these guys, because they're two of my favorites. So yeah, minerals from blue-green algae. Where else are we getting minerals from? We're getting minerals from actually wheatgrass, basic wheatgrass. Wheatgrass, if it's in the soil that it's grown in. So if you're growing a flat of wheatgrass and you put a liquid seaweed into your soil, wheatgrass can absorb over 100 minerals in the soil. Grasses in general do that, actually. In fact, what we discovered about grasses most recently in science is amazing. It's like grass is like almost a cure for everything, just basic grass, like broadleaf grasses. B17, laetrile, amygdalin, all these molecules that just kill cancer on contact. But they can't patent that, so you know you won't see that from your oncologist. What else has minerals in it? Seaweeds, like she was saying, of course, you know, things from the ocean, but we got to be careful with that. So, you know, try to look for third-party tested.
So if you were to use seaweed as a fertilizer to grow your vegetables, will the soil act as a filter for anything radioactive, but you would still get the minerals in the food from your seaweed?
Right, that's a really good point. Because seaweed is commonly used in organic farming, natural farming, to mineralize the soil.
I have something about
Okay, Yumi wants to share about that.
So in Japan, in Fukushima, they're still farming, and some of the farms they use effective microorganisms in the they're like fertilizers, you know, EM. So the radioactive soil, all the producers didn't absorb any radiation when they use EM. So there's some proven, you know, successes with that in Fukushima. So I want to share that. So EM is a good source, and maybe some Korean organic farming, you know, the natural farming by Koreans, they use also microorganisms of the local. Yes?
Could you also put zeolite in that, and that would
Probably can help too. Yeah, probably. But I don't know about that. But I know about EM. Yeah.
There's a few other things that are similar to zeolite in these clays. That, the one that comes to mind is Shilajit, Shilajit, Shilajit. That's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for a long time. In fact, it's one of the #1 things, and that's got something like over 80 minerals in it. But I think one of the greatest sources is coconut water, because it's like it goes straight to your blood, especially if it's fresh. You know, there's a big difference between the stuff in the can that's pasteurized, it's got some kind of leaching plastic or metal molecule in there probably, versus the fresh coconut water. And we have coconuts here everywhere, so that's a no-brainer. And it tastes good too, right? It's probably better than algae for a lot of you guys.
Any data on Ormus?
Oh, Ormus. Well,
You're gonna grow stuff with, or
yeah, so Ormus stands for orbitally rearranged
monoatomic.
monoatomic. Yeah, that's kind of like on the fringe.
That like mitigates active radioactive particles.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't have any data on Ormus effect on radioactive particles. But Ormus is a really interesting idea. If you guys want to look into Ormus, it's kind of like this new science of the periodic table, where basically they're saying our periodic table might not be complete. Our chemical periodic table, there might be a third dimension to it that we're just discovering, that there's electrons that are sitting in other dimensions in some forms of things like gold or silver or copper. And we can actually take in these as supplements. Generally, they're shifted when they're oxidized by the atmosphere. So like minerals that are down in the earth might have this different atomic structure, but when they get mined and pulled out, or they get exposed to the atmosphere, it's a different thing. It's been theorized that this is what gives spring water its spring, that it pops out because these molecules are actually have like forces of levity. And like, if I go too far into that, I might sound like a crazy person, but it's a fun thing to look at. It's a fun idea. It gives the idea to us that trees are growing against gravity, but there's no friction there, that they're using some force of levity, that mushroom spores that actually leave our atmosphere and survive in the vacuum of space, which we know to be true, are concentrating these forces of levity.
Water springs on mountains where there's high mineral content, gold, platinum, crystal are high in that water.
So spring water is one of the most crucial things because of that. So, should we do like a little panel with Yumi again? And do you guys have any more additional questions you want to ask? All right.